Hi, my name is Marc Emery, and these are my last few hours of freedom out here with the rest of you. And let me tell you, I've had such a wonderful time being out here with you and being part of this movement for 20 years, and with a few interruptions, after all, I have been arrested 23 times, and I've been jailed 17 times in my past, but it's not been anything as long as what I'm looking at right now. I did go to jail for 62 days in Saskatoon 5 years ago for just passing one joint, so some small experience in a well-run provincial Canadian jail. But where I'm going might be a lot different than that. I'm going, starting on Monday, September 28th, in just a few hours, a court will order me handcuffed and put in North Fraser Detention Centre, where I'll be held, while the Minister of Justice of Canada decides to sign the extradition order. Now, I want you to call him up and say, don't do it. Don't sign over a Canadian to the U.S. criminal justice system, a Canadian who'd never been there, who's done all his work in Canada, and by and large openly, transparently, and in a way that didn't offend Canadians at all. And now I am looking at a 5-year sentence in a Seattle federal court. And where I'll be posted is in a U.S. federal prison for aliens, that is non-Americans, people from Mexico, Guatemala, Central America, South America, and Canada. And there's usually about 8 or 9 Canadians with over 1,000 people from other parts of South and Central America. And the difficulty for the Canadians there is that the people in the cartels are in these prisons, and they fight amongst each other, and the prisons get locked down, and the Canadians often find themselves locked down for 30, 40, 50 days at a time in their 12 by 10 concrete cell in their jail cells for 23 hours. So it's not a very pleasant situation, and normally they would be transferred back to Canada within an average of 4 to 6 months. But the Conservative government here in Canada, which is a very fundamentalist and reactionary government that's very much opposed to the pot people, they're not taking Canadians who are convicted in American courts who are convicted of marijuana offenses. And of course that would include me. So I'm certainly going to need your help getting me back to Canada, where I could be out on day parole as early as 10 months. And, that's all things considered, that's something I can imagine, something I can sort of hope for, wish for, that if I were to be back here exactly 1 year ago from now, that would be a pretty good outcome for what can happen to me. So I would love it if you would write me in jail, and it'll be posted at cannabisculture.com and later on freemark.ca. And I want you to do everything in your power to get me not extradited to the United States, which means calling the Minister of Justice and saying, don't extradite Marc Emery. And then once I am fated to end up in a U.S. federal court, in a U.S. federal prison, I want all Americans to lobby the Bureau of Prisons and their congressmen and whatever responsible authorities Jody will pinpoint at cannabisculture.com and urge them to transfer me as soon as possible. Once I'm in a U.S. federal prison, I'll be putting in my application for transfer, and under our treaty between the United States and Canada, these things can happen right away if the powers that be want to make it so. And that's why I need your help to make sure that happens. Now, to that end, I'm not an unhappy person about this. I have accepted this fate, and I thought this fate was coming for quite some time. It takes a lot to stop the U.S. Justice Department on any crusade it's ever on. Even Tommy Chong had to go to 9 months because his son had a bong factory. There's no logic and there's no sense to any of it. And of course, the entire drug war is all about the suffering and the hurt that is imposed on people like myself and on all the people who love me and care for me, who have to suffer as a consequence of me being taken away and taken to somewhere desperate and lonely and dangerous where I won't know anybody. And of course, this would be a terrible thing to happen to any American, and it does so often, or any Canadian, and it does often. So I'm just one victim amongst many, perhaps the most name recognizable of all the people in the U.S. federal penitentiary system. It would be me. So I'm going to get more support than normal. Imagine that. And I'm going to still be lonely. And I'm still going to be so bored and so kind of wondering if my safety is at stake or something desperate could happen to me at any time. And others in the jails who don't have my support base live with much more desperate circumstances in their lives. So I want your help. Help my wife Jody with all her work at cannabisculture.com. Please check our website. It's whyprohibition.ca. And believe me, I will feel so great when you write me a letter in jail telling me all the great things you've done to make the repeal of prohibition more than just a possibility, but a reality. I want you to talk to me about the senators of the U.S. Congress that you write to, your congressmen that you write to, the bills in Congress that you should support, like Barney Frank and Ron Paul's Adult Use of Marijuana Act, which will be up for a vote in the Congress this year. I want you to support Tom Ammiano's bill SB 390 in the California State House that will legalize marijuana. And I want you to oppose Bill C-15 in the Senate with all your energy and all the breath you can. The phone numbers are always on our websites, and the emails to write to your senators here in Canada to stop Bill C-15, a very dangerous and bad bill that will put thousands of us in prison over the next few years if it passes the Senate. That's really urgent. Tell me what you're doing when you write me in jail. Write to the ministers responsible and get me transferred back to Canada. It's been an honor to work for the cannabis culture around the world, and I had a wonderful, wonderful time. And I look forward to being back amongst you. I hope you'll be able to write to me and that we'll correspond, and that I can still share ideas and still influence the outcome of your movement out there that we are all part of. Our great movement. I look forward to being your leader in jail and out, and I encourage you to tell me about all the great activism you're going to do. Get a stencil, by the way, and spray paint Free Marc Emery or Google Marc Emery or Who is Marc Emery. We're going to make 3 stencils, and we want you to get them and spray paint them on construction walls, whatever walls you happen to see. I want a worldwide use of my brand. And look at this great t-shirt. I think they're so awesome. Gary Wintle is a remarkable artist, and this poster, this image is showing up on posters, on stickers, on buttons, and there'll be stencils that say, like I said, Who is Marc Emery, Google Marc Emery, and Free Marc Emery. And please get hold of these or make them yourself. You can download these logos and make your own t-shirts. You can make these anywhere in the world. You don't want to order them, make your own. We will be glad to give you a full spec drawing to work with. We will be glad to help you make stencils. Anything you can do to bring awareness to the fact that I'm in jail, which is the same reason any of the drug war prisoners are in jail, because we have a cruel, sadistic, inhumane system that punishes people for peaceful, honest lifestyle choices, and that shouldn't be. So use me as the representative, the poster boy for people in the U.S. federal penitentiaries, or in the United States, who are there for drug charges and marijuana charges. And I'm not unhappy. I'm excited. So let's see what this grand adventure can be. The sooner you get me back, then of course the happier I'll be. But the more effort you can do on behalf of the movement, that would really truly be awesome. That will inspire me. It will inspire my wife. It will make all this prohibition end all the sooner. And I look forward to seeing you on my next video when I'm out of jail, looking happy, healthy, and satisfied.
No shy, he's not. He gives it all he's got. He's the Prince of Pot.
He's the Prince of Pot.
All right.